Hey YouTube, what's going on? Today we're taking a look at the Sofirn SC28 and how I think in some ways it was inspired by the Sofirn SC32. So first, let's look at the heads of the light. You can see the shape of that bezel, right? And I've said for a while now that I think that this is the perfect type of bezel for a tactical flashlight. And even though the SC32 carries some tactical features, I don't think it's necessarily a great tactical pick. Like, I wouldn't choose this light if I was in law enforcement or whatever else as my choice. But anyways, I think it's a wonderful EDC pick. But the bezel, I think, is perfect on not only a tactical light, but honestly on what I want out of most lights. Because I like a bezel, I like some drop protection, I like a little something there. And what they did with the SC28 here, and you'll see it's the same exact shape. It feels very similar. The only difference is that it's just larger. See if I can get both of them clearly on camera here. You see that? It's the same shape that they did. It's just that they're smaller and that there's a higher quantity of those little edges on the SC32, and that's not necessarily necessary on the SC28 being a larger light, but it just took that same bezel, I think, for the most part, took the same shape and enlarged it. So it feels heavily influenced on the bezel by the SC32. Now moving down the light a little bit further here, we look at the heads. Both of these have unique heads, and you don't really see really many other lights with either lenses that are looking like this. So on the SC32, we have a Fresnel lens in there, and on the SC28, TIR reflector with webbing in there, which is pretty unique. So both of these have unique setups. They're not just your standard TIR. It's not just your standard reflector or anything like that. And as we continue down the light here, both of these have the same battery indicator. Okay, so there it is on the SC28. There it is on the SC32. Let's try to click them all at the same time. There we go. And you'll see there, same exact battery indicator. Appears to be the same exact size. Now you may have also noticed the USB-C recharging port is exactly the same style, same setup. Both of them are not going to get easily opened because it doesn't have that large flap that comes from the bottom. The only difference is that it's a little bit bigger of a flap on the SC28 and it goes the opposite direction. Now, if we move on to the tube, if you check that out, you'll see that the way the lines are set up, I think it's a similar design. I think it's still somewhat inspired by the SC32. This would be a bit too rough and too much to have on this tiny light on the SC32. So I think that they just took this idea and said, hey, let's enlarge it and let's make it a better grip and a more tactical feel on the larger SC28. Okay, if we can see those next to each other. So it still feels inspired by it. Now the clip is obviously different. So on the SC32 here we have a two-way clip. On the SC28 we have a one-way clip, which actually has some pretty good retention on it. And I think this was the necessary improvement here because, well, I shouldn't even say improvement because I think it's just right on the SC32. This is a perfect size to put on your ball cap. I think it's a good light to have a two-way clip for. I don't think you need a two-way clip on this fully tactical style 21700 light. Having a better retention one-way clip is a better idea on this one. So I think they made the right choice there. Now something else that differs as well is we're looking at completely different buttons here. Electronic button here on the SC32, which has no momentary, so it's just click on, click off, and it's that simple. And you can hold down to change modes. I love this button. It feels really good to click in, and it works no matter where you get it on the button. I love this button. Okay, but you get no momentary. On the SC28 here, we have this mechanical switch that in order to change the light output, instead of holding it down, you have to double click quickly to get through modes, or you have to lightly press in halfway through modes when it's off. So very, very different there. That's fine. I think that they wanted the mechanical switch on the SC28 to give it a more tactical feel because it offers momentary as well. So I get the differences here, but I still think a lot of this was inspired on the SC28 by the SC32. And I think one of the major similarities I want to look at is with this. This is the Sofirn SC32, which comes with an 18650 battery, okay? The Sofirn SC28 comes with a 21700 battery. Now let me show you a still relatively small 18650 light. Like, it's not huge or by any means. It's lightweight, but this is an 18650 light by Workos. These two lights take the same battery size. And this 21700 still comes in smaller than the FC12 and 18650. Now this isn't a knock on the FC12. It's got a deeper reflector, it's got a dual switch, so on. But my point is that the reason why I still carry this SC32 so often is because I love the size and feel of this light. I mean, the combination, of course, the button, the bezel, the two-way clip, it's got good run times. I like the beam profile, so on. But overall, I'm able to get this tiny package for an 18650 light. Sofirn did the same thing. They offered a pretty tiny package for a 21700 light. Like, I know that it looks quite a bit bigger than the SC32, but then you get that other 18650 in here and you realize a big 21700 dual light is going to be significantly larger than this SC28. So I think it's pretty neat what Sofirn's done here. I think that there's a lot of things that were inspired by the SC32 to the SC28. Kind of reminds me of me and my brother. Even though I'm the older brother, he's significantly taller than I am. So he's my big little brother. Well, the Sofirn SC28 is the big little brother here to the SC32. So I think that they're both pretty similar lights. I really like them both. This has an SST40 in my SC32. This has an XHP 50.2 in my SC28. So to get a bit more similar beam profiles, you could get the 519A in the SC32, and I think that those are going to put out much more similar floody style beam profiles. This video wasn't so much meant to be a direct comparison, but more to show you where I think some of the inspirations were taken from on the SC28. Thanks for watching.